Yo, VIP. Let's kick it. Ice, ice, baby. Ice, ice, baby.
Welcome back, Coal City Intermediate School. I hope you have a great school year. I challenge Mr. Brazy and the rest of the intermediate school to take the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. Mr. Brazy, you need to start.
My name is Mr. Brazy. I'm a 4th grade teacher here at the intermediate school. I've been challenged by Dr. Bug for the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, and I have accepted the challenge. Whew. Whew. To continue the challenge, I'm going to challenge Mrs. Bailey, Miss Talty, and Mrs. Vignoki.
I'm Mrs. Bailey and I'm the secretary. I'm Mrs. Vignoki and I'm the librarian.
And I'm Miss Talty. I'm the assistant secretary, health aide, and subcaller.
Mr. Brazy challenged us to the ice bucket,
And
we accept the challenge. We nominate the challenge to Mr. McCleary and Mrs. Walker.
Hi, I'm Mr. McCleary.
And I'm Mrs. Walker, and we're the PE and health teachers.
And we have been challenged by Mrs. Talty, Mrs. Bailey, and Mrs. Vignoki for the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, and we accept the challenge.
You accept the challenge.
Yeah.
Oh man. Stop videoing that.
We now challenge Mrs. Ness and Mrs. Hausman.
I'm Mrs. Hausman and I'm a 4th grade teacher.
I'm Mrs. Ness, and I'm a 4th grade teacher. We've been challenged by Mr. McCleary and Mrs. Walker for the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, and we gladly accept.
Gladly?
Oh, sorry. It's a wrap.
Nope. We challenge Mrs. Gell, Mrs. Coward, and Mrs. Gernens.
I'm Mrs. Coward, and I teach 4th grade.
I'm Mrs. Grenens and I teach 4th grade.
I'm Mrs. Jelm and I teach 4th grade.
And we've been nominated by Mrs. Ness and Mrs. Hausman to do the
Ice Bucket
Challenge. And we accept.
Right. And we challenge Miss Molly and Miss Marquetti.
I'm Miss Volley, I'm the Trails teacher.
And I'm Miss Marquetti, the social worker.
We've been nominated by Mrs. Grenens, Mrs. Jelm, and Mrs. Coward
To do the Ice Bucket Challenge, and we
accept.
And we nominate
Mrs. Bear
Mrs. Hargesheimer
and Mrs. O'Donnell.
Hi, I'm Miss Hargesheimer and I teach 5th grade.
I'm Mrs. Bear, and I teach 5th grade.
I'm Miss O'Donnell and I teach 5th grade.
We were nominated for the Ice Bucket Challenge.
By Miss Volley and Miss Marquetti.
And we accept the challenge.
We nominate Miss Fosen, Miss Troll for this challenge.
Okay, I'm Mrs. Fosen and I teach 4th and 5th grade computers and 4th grade music.
I'm Mrs. Troll and I teach Spanish.
And we've been challenged by
Miss Hargesheimer, Miss O'Donnell, and Mrs. Bear
to take the Ice Bucket Challenge, and we accept.
Barham, custodian.
And we've
Challenge
nominated...
these two to the Ice Bucket Challenge. You accept?
We accept.
We accept.
Look out. Don't look.
I nominate Mr. Nicholson.
I nominate Mrs. Miller.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Miller,
I'm Mr. Nicholson.
and I was challenged by Jerry, our custodian, on the Ice Bucket Challenge.
And I was challenged by Amanda Palmer, our custodian. We accept.
We accept the challenge.
We challenge Mrs. Conrad,
And I challenge
Mrs. Vigna, Miss Vigna.
I'm Miss Vigna and I'm a 4th grade teacher. I'm Miss Conrad and I'm a 4th grade teacher too.
And we accept the challenge.
But baby Conrad does not.
We nominate Miss Papish and Mrs. Rink. Hi, I'm Mrs. Rink, 5th grade teacher.
And I'm Miss Papish, 5th grade teacher as well.
And we accept the ice challenge.
From Mrs. Conrad and Miss Vigna. But the baby does not.
I nominate Mrs. Carlson and Mrs. Meyer.
I'm Miss Meyer, and I have been challenged by Mrs. Rink and Mrs. Papish to do the Ice Bucket Challenge. Mrs. Carlson? Mrs. Carlson, where are you? Hey, guys. I accept. God, guys, too long. I can't catch my breath.
I might as well have done it.
I can't catch my breath.